Welcome to Mr. Riddle's writing class. This is Lucrative Writing 101. I'm James Riddle, your instructor. We're going to be learning on lesson 2 today. We're going to be learning about nouns. Okay, one of the things I love about this picture is it reminds me of something that I teach my students all the time. A lot of people, when they're learning a concept, or if they're wanting to achieve a goal or anything like that in life, a lot of times they get overwhelmed. And part of how you overcome being overwhelmed is you create your plan, you create your goal and everything, whatever you got to do, whatever you have in mind to do, but then you chunk that thing into short steps. And I tell people, you don't have to climb the cliff all at once. You don't think that you have to climb the cliff all at once. You just think about climbing 1 foot per day. You chunk that task. And so before long, if you focus on that way, before long you're going to be looking for another cliff to climb. And so it's like looking at this cliff. Okay, if I'm at the bottom of this cliff and I'm looking at this cliff, I might say, "Oh man, this is overwhelming. I'll never be able to do it." But if you focus on the next foot that you have to climb, so I'm right here. Let's say right here. All I got to focus on is climbing right here on this part of the cliff. Well, if that's my focus, it makes it easier. And so when you're taking this course and you're learning how to write, maybe there's things that you don't remember and things like that, because we're going to get into stuff right now that is it's not your most of it's not what we're taught in school, okay? And a lot of times what you were not taught in school, you taught the basics. We're going to look at the basics today because nouns are basics, right? The nouns are basics of writing. But we're going to talk about how to use them, because how you use them is utterly essential. And just knowing what they are is that's only a tiny part of it. And so you need to know how to use them, but don't get overwhelmed. And all this stuff that we're doing, we're just acclimating ourselves to it. We're going to do practice exercises and things like that. But what you need to do is you need to not focus on being this fantastic author all at once. You need to build from the ground up and start. You're right down here. Think about just going to here. And that's what nouns is. We're at the bottom of the lesson plan. So we're going to move forward 1 step. And so just think about the 1 step at a time. Think about a slide at a time that I'm going over. Okay? So let's go on with this. Remember, this is lucrative writing. This is writing to write something that will make money, that will change lives, that will make the world a better place. Okay? And so let's go on with this. First of all, just like I tell you all the time, you need to read. Great writers read, and you need to be able to see it on the page. It's just like this book right here. I got a book on my shelf over here. It's For New Liberty by Murray Rothbard. If you open it up, you see it's written in paragraph form. And so when I read this, I'm getting the picture of this in my mind. If you're just reading for a concept, to learn about something, sure, you can get on Audible or something like that. But what you want to do to be a great writer, you want to see the good writing. And so you want to have your Kindle or whatever, and you want to have the book there. So a good physical book is a good thing to have. Or a Kindle where you actually see the writing on the page. That's important. Okay? So you need to make sure that you're reading every single day, and you're reading something that you are writing. You're reading something from that genre. You're reading something, if you're writing short stories, or if you're writing a personal narrative or a memoir, what you need to do is read short stories, personal narratives. Okay? So you don't get the cart before the horse. You want to make sure you read first before you start every lesson. Seeing good writing is foundational to great writing. Okay? Get off my soapbox there, and let's go on with this. We're going to get into nouns here. Okay, and so If you think that the parts of speech, just like I was saying, are something that you just learned in the 5th grade, you got to think again. You got to think that there's ways to use this stuff, these parts of speech. Knowing what they are is one thing. Knowing how to use them is altogether different. Now, the parts of speech are nouns, pronouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, prepositions, conjunctions, and interjections, and actually complements as well. Okay, they're the foundation of sentence creation. Okay, using them is more than just following grammar rules. It's an art form. It's an art form to use them. The foundation of sentence writing is the first 3. I call these first 3, the nouns, pronouns, and verbs, I call them the main parts of speech. All these other things are advanced parts of speech. Okay, they're the ones that make these work well. Okay? So, let's go on. We'll talk about nouns now. Now, sentences cannot exist without a noun or a pronoun. A pronoun being the word that replaces a noun. We'll get to that in the next lesson. Okay, and so the main thing that nouns do is they're subjects and objects in the sentence. Okay, they always name something, and so like you have this lady here. She's the boxer. She's the subject of your sentence. So the boxer. And then what does she do? If you get a transitive verb, and we'll get into that later too, then she's doing something to an object. And so you got subjects and object. The boxer pummeled the bag. And so you got subject being the boxer, object being the bag, both nouns. Okay? And so we'll go into more of that in detail later. So, noun, let's talk about the noun itself. A noun is from the Latin word nomen. Okay, that means name. So nouns basically name something. And you'll see this, the root word of nomen, as we go along in different aspects of our course. And so nouns name a person, place, thing, or idea. So you have like here, a person, a pregnant lady, an athlete, okay? A yoga instructor, or whatever. Those are persons. Those are all nouns. You have like a place, like a beach, a city. These are all places. That's nouns. Beach and city are nouns. Then you have things, like a picture or a car. Those are things. So you got nouns, those are all nouns. Then you have ideas. You can't take a picture of an idea, can you? Democracy is a noun, but it's an abstract idea. And so you can take a picture of something that represents a noun, democracy, but you can't take a picture of democracy itself. You can't take a picture of freedom. They're abstract ideas, but they are nouns. And so nouns are persons, place, things, and ideas. People, places, and things are all concrete. Ideas are abstract. So let's go over those in a little more detail. Okay, concrete nouns. What is a concrete noun? That's a noun that you can experience with your 5 senses. Give you some examples here. Brick. Can you hold a brick? Can you touch a brick? Remember, what are your 5 senses? You got taste, smell, touch, hearing, sight. Okay, these are all your 5 senses. So you can experience all of these with your 5 senses. Air. You can feel the air. The air can blow against you as wind. Okay, the chair I'm sitting in. Chair is concrete. I can experience this with my 5 senses. A writer. I'm a writer. You can touch me. You can hear me. Okay, you can see what I do. You can experience that with your 5 senses. A garden. All this stuff are things they're all concrete. Anything you can experience with your 5 senses is concrete. The other side is, remember, you have person, place, and thing. Those are all concrete. Then the last thing is idea. Ideas are abstract. So all ideas are abstract nouns. And so those are nouns that you cannot experience with your 5 senses. They express an idea, a condition, or a quality. And some examples of that: freedom, democracy, work, research, excitement. These are all nouns. The thing about these is that they get confused. People confuse them with verbs, but every word that you write is labeled according to how it's used in the context in which it's used. And so sometimes when you're writing, you can have something that you generally use as a verb, And if it's used in a certain way, it can be a noun, and we'll see that. We're going to go over all of those different things, and this is how the creativity comes when you use words as an art form. Okay, and so each of these is a person, place, thing, or idea. So all of them are nouns. Now let's use concrete nouns. Okay, using concrete nouns in a sentence is very easy, and so we have our general concrete nouns up here. And so how do we use them in a sentence? Let's say Mr. Riddle is a voluntarist. Okay, that's my basic political philosophy. And so what does that mean? Okay, Mr. Riddle is our subject. Remember, every subject is a noun. If it's the subject of a sentence, it's a noun. And so Mr. Riddle is the subject of this sentence. The subject is who or what the sentence is about. But voluntarius is also a noun. This is called a predicate nominative. And a predicate nominative, we're going to go over this in a later lesson. Predicate nominative basically names the subject of the sentence. And it's a nominative. And so notice that word nomain. This is this is the root word of nominative. And so you got voluntarist. Now you go on to the next one, the boxer. Well, that's our subject. That's what it's about. Now we have a transitive verb, and so you got boxer pummeled the what? The bag. That's a direct object. Okay? Then you have the house is made of bricks. That's the object. And this is actually the object of the preposition because this is a preposition. And so that's what this object is. So thing is about everyone remembers that nouns are a person, place, or thing. They think of them that way, and these are concrete and easily recognizable. What gives people trouble is when they're looking at a sentence. What gives them trouble is recognizing whether certain words are or the abstract words are nouns. And so recognizing and using abstract nouns in a sentence is what gives people trouble. So all of these are abstract: freedom, democracy, work, research, excitement, etc. These are all abstract. You cannot experience them with your five senses. And so how about rights? Rights is abstract, okay? But that's your subject of the sentence. Every subject is a noun. Okay, so rights are a noun. Now these are justifiable liberties, and this is another predicate nominative. This is labeling what rights are. They're justifiable liberties. Okay, and so it's a predicate nominative. It is a noun as well. How about this? Libertarian principles. Okay, now libertarian in this sentence, the word is actually an adjective describing what the principles are. But it's the subject. Principles is the subject. And now we have a transitive verb there, and so liberty is a direct object. And so how can it be an object if it's abstract? Well, it's receiving the action of the transitive verb. That's what that is. Okay, and so you got principles and liberty. They're both abstract. They're both nouns in the sentence. Joy, that's the subject of the sentence, so it's a noun. Okay, so you say joy calms the spirit. You have another direct object. Joy calms what? You have a transitive verb calming a specific thing, the spirit. Now this one too can, people sometimes think this is a gray area, spirit. You think maybe you can experience spirit, in a concrete way, but really what we're looking at here is an abstract term in this sentence. Joy calms the spirit being an abstract concept, and so this would be a noun, an abstract noun. None of these sentences contain a concrete noun. None of them contain a person, place, or thing. Okay, and so anyway, all of them are abstract, and so let's go on with this. Here's what I was telling you earlier. Any word can be a noun, any word, if it's used as the subject of a sentence. And so let's give a few examples of this. Giving. Okay, giving is normally a verb, right? But in this sentence, it's the subject, so therefore it's a noun. Excuse me. So giving is an important aspect of her personality. And so giving in this sentence is a noun, or it's a noun form. Okay? So how about this one? The is an article. How can that be a noun? It's the subject of the sentence. So it becomes a noun as it's the subject. The is the article in the sentence. And so in this sentence, the is a noun. Smelly. Smelly is usually an adverb. Okay, or an adjective, I mean. And so smelly, but this in sentence, it's used as the subject, so it's a noun. Remember, subjects are always a noun or a pronoun. Perfectly, the adverb, describes the way she punches, but perfectly in this sentence is a noun. It's normally an adverb, but since it's used as the subject, it's a noun. So if it's the subject of the sentence, it's always a noun, no matter what word you're using. So basically, any word can be a noun. Any word whatsoever can be a noun if it's depending on how it's used. And so each word in yellow here is used as a noun. Let's go on. So when using nouns, you want to make them well-crafted and specific to their task. And so here's a general concept. The general concept would be the woman. That's general, right? You really don't, I mean, you can get a billion different images in your mind if I just said the woman, okay? But you can be more specific. Specificity is the female firefighter. You can even get even more specific than that, but that would be specific, the female firefighter. You narrow that billion down into a few million because it could be very different. And so when you're using it specific to the task, you might say something like this. Allison, here's your subject. Allison. So we got a little more specific. We got this specific person. Donned her bunker gear. That's her firefighter uniform, the bunker gear. And narrowed her eyes. Eyes being the noun. Against the danger ahead. Her fellow firefighters, all rugged men, looked cautious and apprehensive. But she was ready. Okay, and so this is using nouns specific to their task. These nouns are simply tools that we use to achieve a purpose. So they don't have to be flashy, brilliant, or complex, just specific, and use them specifically for the purpose. You don't want to overdo it, and we'll talk about that in a minute too, overdoing it. And so they just reveal our purpose simply, directly, and as understandably as possible. That's what you're looking for. You don't want to be flamboyant when you write. You want to be understandable. You want someone to read your writing and not get lost in it. You want them to be able to understand it, relate to it, and make it so whatever you're trying to say, it gets an image in the person's mind. That's what you're looking for, in your audience's mind. So let's go on. So let's practice a little bit. So look at the picture, this picture right here, and develop a few sentences using nouns specific to their task. And so you might say general. This is the general. The boy. Okay, that's general. What I want you to be is specific. What boy is this? Write it down. And then create something specific to the task. What would you write about this boy? Tell something about what he's going through right now. What do you see in this picture? And so right now, I want you to pause the video, write down general, what is this? How can you be more specific? Maybe name the boy, maybe tell how old he is or whatever the case is. And then do specific to the task. What is it about this picture that you can see about this boy? Okay? And so pause the video and give that a shot. Okay, let's go on. Using appositives can also make your nouns more specific. Remember, we're talking about specificity, making things understandable. You want to be concise, but you want to be understandable too. You want your audience to be able to see something in their mind in a way that they can relate to and they can enjoy or learn easily. Okay, so these are two general sentences here. The dog ate my homework. Okay, that's very general. And so you can get, like I said, a billion images in your mind with that. Okay, let's do it specific with an appositive. Remember, an appositive is something that is an appositive is a word or phrase that labels the noun. Okay, and so you got Trevor. Now we know who the dog's name is. My feisty golden retriever. That is an appositive telling who Trevor is. So remember, and a positive is set off. It's like you introduce the noun, and then you have a comma. You put the appositive in here that describes or labels the who Trevor is, and then you have another comma, and then you put the rest of the sentence. Trevor, my feisty golden retriever, decided to have my calculus assignment for dinner. And so this is much more specific than the dog ate my homework. And so you got Trevor, and you want to find out who Trevor is, because if you didn't put my feisty golden retriever, the appositive on there, you'd think maybe it was a little brother or something, okay? And so this is how you use an appositive for specificity. So another thing, the stripper got me in trouble, okay? You might say the chastity, the busty, exotic dancer, this is your positive describing who chastity is. And so caught my unexpected attention, much to the chagrin of my ever-observant wife. Okay, and so how many men get themselves in trouble like that? Not me. But anyway, you got chastity, the busty, exotic dancer. This is how you describe and make more specific the noun. Okay, that's how you make nouns more specific. You use it a positive. There's many ways to make it more specific. We're going to go into adjectives and things like that, but making things more specific makes your writing more understandable, more relatable to your audience. But always be yourself when you write. Be specific, be natural, and always be true to your purpose. Know exactly what the purpose is. What exactly is the message you want to give to your audience? Okay, so let's do a little practice here, and then more practice. And then I'm going to ask you to pause the video and do this. I want you to create a specific noun, and then create an appositive for that noun, and then make the rest of the sentence more specific. And so I'm giving you two sentences here. The soldier came home from the war. Okay, you want a noun that represents the soldier, then you want an appositive describing this person, and then go ahead and put something more specific about the war. Okay, same thing here. The people swarmed the beach. This is an excellent verb, but we're talking about nouns now. Okay, so the people, you might describe what people they are. Which people are you talking about? And a positive to even further be specific about those people, and then maybe talk more specific about what beach. Okay, so do that. And remember, be yourself, be specific, be natural, be true to your purpose as you write this. And so pause the video right now and create a more specific sentence for this using an appositive. Go and pause the video. Okay, next, what we want to do is we want to be concise. We're going to practice being concise, okay? You want to leave out unnecessary information as you write. A lot of people write the same things over and over again and not even realize they're doing it. This is why revision is so important, and we're going to get into that later. Okay, but this is specific here. The Ford Mustang GT. Okay, you can get more specific describing the color or whatever, the rims or whatever. But how much of this is unnecessary? Now let's talk about specific to the purpose. Most people know that the Mustang is a Ford, or they don't even need to know whether it's a Ford. If they don't know, they know what a Mustang is. We're talking about a car, so you might just say the Mustang GT. Just leave Ford out altogether. We're talking about leaving out unnecessary information. How about this? Brad Pitt, the award-winning actor. Well, how many people don't know that Brad Pitt is an award-winning actor? And so for most people, depending on your audience, of course, you don't have to put the award-winning actor. You just put Brad Pitt. Then they know exactly what you're talking about. You don't have to describe Brad Pitt. Okay, unless there's something about him that's specific to the purpose. Okay? There's something that you want people to know about Brad Pitt, and you're describing that part. But you don't have to get too descriptive of it, because some things about the writing the people are already going to know, and so you don't want to write something that the people already know. Okay, look at this, and this throws in a little bit of extra wording on the sentence. there is a crib sitting on top of my car. Okay? And so if you look at this, you can make that much more concise and specific to the purpose. You don't have to put there is or on top of. If you put a crib is sitting on my car, that's all you need. That's all you need. You get the same picture here as here, and there's less wording here. Okay? And so you only write what they need to know to clearly get the point that you're putting across. Okay? So let's go on. Okay, here's my last plug on nouns. Last plug. Okay, we're going to talk about plural versus possessive form. Plural indicates more than one. If you have, we got a noun and you want to talk about more than one of something, then you simply normally just add an S. Most of us know this, okay? So you would have several cars. Instead of a car, you have many cars. That's plural, would be cars. A list of songs, number of votes, etc. Okay, you add an ES if the noun ends in S, X, CH, SH, or Z, such as row of buses, stack of boxes, pile of dishes. Okay, if the noun ends in Y or IES, like you add IES. If the noun ends in Y, you add IES, such as family, party, etc. It would become families, parties, etc. And you always remember that there are irregulars. There's irregular plural, such as children, women, and oxen. But the nouns, plural nouns are simply when you're expressing more than one. But don't get this confused with the possessive form, because you also add an S in possessive form, but you add an apostrophe S. Let's look at it. Okay, possessives mean it indicates ownership. And it's like that's that girl's car. Notice you're putting an S on girl. You're showing possession. That is the girl's car. That would be an apostrophe S. That's the kid's homework. You're putting an S on kid, but it's not plural. You're putting possessive. So for the possessive form, you put an apostrophe S. Okay, don't put an apostrophe S if you're trying to express a plural. That makes things very confusing. You want to make sure that you're using the apostrophe properly. Okay, so for most singular nouns, you just add an S. It's like that's John's t-shirt. T-shirt that belongs to John, showing possession. John's t-shirt, you put apostrophe S. That's the dog's leash. That's the leash that belongs to the dog. It's apostrophe S. Now, if the noun ends in S, you either just add an apostrophe or you add an apostrophe S. Both are correct when you do this. And the rules are constantly changing in this area. But the thing is, if it doesn't sound right, don't use it. And you'll see it when you do this. It's just like this. That's Carlos candy bar. Okay, it sounds right, doesn't it? So you can just put the apostrophe at the end, and you know that's the candy bar that belongs to Carlos. But the apostrophe is what's important. But you can also put apostrophe S. That's Carlos's candy bar. Notice both of them sound right, and so it's right. Now, what about this one? It's the measles' fault. Okay, so on the measles, you would just put an apostrophe here, because think about it this. It's the measles' fault? No, that doesn't work, does it? Okay, and so if it doesn't sound right, don't use it. Notice here too, you got there's an apostrophe S on this pronoun. When you're using a pronoun, the apostrophe is always a contraction for it is. Okay? And so whenever you're using the apostrophe on a pronoun, it's not the same rule. In the possessive form of a pronoun, it's just it's without anything there. Okay, we'll get to that in another portion. Okay, if the noun is a plural ending in an S, just add an apostrophe, such as the aisle is for babies. Now this is for the word is babies. You wouldn't put the babies' shoes. Okay, that's the boys' restroom. That's the restroom for the boys. It's not the boy restroom. It's the boys' restroom, but you just put apostrophe at the end. Okay, that's the various classes assignment. So when you have the word classes, it's already plural, and you don't want to put the various classes. You know, a lot of times you simply go by what sounds right. Okay, but the apostrophe is what is important when doing possessives. Okay? That's what the apostrophe is for. So when you're writing a plural, don't put an apostrophe. And there's a rule that I tell all my students, when in doubt, Google it. Okay, that's our lesson on nouns. That's it for today. So now let's move on to pronouns. We will see you in that lesson. See you there.